So, how do we go about sourcing all of the supplies that we need to start a brand new candle business? In today's episode, I am going to go through our steps that we are taking to source from the wax and oils to custom vessels to even the packaging for our new brand. If you're just now tuning in, this is a series on how to build an entirely new candle business. I'm Sebastian Garznet, the founder of Candle Business Pro, and alongside my husband, Chad, we started Garznet Beacon Candle Company just over 3 years ago, and it has now scaled to over $1 million in revenue. And we are starting a completely new candle business. It's a completely different niche and target audience, completely different branding, completely different everything. And we're having you come on this journey with us so that you can hopefully build out a business of your own. Or if you already have a business, there might be some areas and some great tips and tricks for you to pick up. So if you've not been following along, this is week 4. You can go back and see weeks 1, 2, and 3, where we defined our niche, our target audience. We put together some brand demographics. We went out and bought a domain. We went and trademarked our logos. So we've done all of that. Now it's time to start putting the physical pieces together. So we're going to get into talking about all of the stuff that we are ordering for this new business here in just a moment. But first, I want to shout out 2Auto. 2Auto wax melters are fantastic. We use them at all 3 of our stores, and they have partnered with us on this series. We do have a link for you to get an exclusive discount in the show notes below. So check them out if you are looking to either scale up your business or you're wanting to get multiple melters. I know with us, we do soy candles. We also do wax melts, and we also do coconut soy candles. So with 3 different types of waxes, it's so nice that 2Auto wax melters are affordable so that we can have multiple melters. And we do that in all of our stores. So they've been fantastic. Again, you can look at the link in the show notes below for an exclusive discount for you. So let's get into this week's episode. Okay, so when you're starting a new candle business, now I consider what we are building here an actual candle lifestyle business. We are going to have some lifestyle elements into this. We are going to have some shirts. We are going to have some possibly journals, possibly some hats, some other merchandise around the candle business. We are definitely focused on the candles first. We will also be doing perfumes with this line. So there will be some things that we're adding to this new brand that you may not necessarily need to add to yours, or you may not have any desire, and that's completely fine. I will go through some of what we are doing for the lifestyle side of this brand, just so that you're aware. And so it might be something for you to think about, depending on the direction that you're going with your business. So what should you first consider when you're sourcing your supplies? So this is where I often see a lot of makers get caught up at the very beginning. I am a huge advocate for keeping it simple. You want to build a business around supplies that is always going to be available. Oftentimes, more often than not, we see new makers come out and they are ready to start their business and they are buying the latest vessels that just came out, right? All the suppliers, of course, are having new vessels come out every season, and they're building a business and a brand around one of those new vessels. The issue with that is more times than not, those vessels are going away. Now, the suppliers don't tell us this because, of course, if they do extremely well, they'll keep them around. But so many of the suppliers, in fact, that we use have vessels that end up just not selling well for them, whether it's the price point, whether it's the style, whether it's the color. Oftentimes it's the size. A lot of these suppliers are coming out with larger vessels, and it's not necessarily conducive for the pricing that we're doing for our brand. So oftentimes those won't sell, and then they end up discontinuing them. If you build an entire business around relying on a specific supplier's vessel, and then it goes discontinue, you're going to have a problem. You're going to have to pivot really hard and figure out how you can replace your entire business. The other thing is you're going to have to not just find new vessels, but then now you have to go and retest every single thing that you are making. Now, for us, we started and have scaled our business with a simple 10-ounce vessel, 10-ounce glass. This is a Libby jar that we will always be able to get. Libby is probably one of the oldest glass makers and of containers and vessels in the country. They are US based here. I'm not concerned about ever not being able to get one of these. I can buy these from multiple suppliers. I can buy them actually from the manufacturer themselves. So that is something to keep in mind. We also have other vessels that we use that we actually get made for us. For instance, this is just a simple 7-ounce candle, right? This is a simple 7-ounce candle. This was a clear jar. We purchased these. These are the 60 cent, 70 cent jars. We purchased these and have a manufacturer actually spray these for us. So they make them custom for us. So they sprayed them white and then they screen printed our logo on the outside. So sure, you have to have larger minimums when you are doing that. For us, I believe our minimums on these is like 1,200 vessels. But think about where you're planning to go with your brand, and think about if you're going to go with something that is more, special or more trending right now. For instance, this vessel right here, this vessel isn't even available anymore. And this is something that we had as an exclusive inside of our Garson Beacon brand, not even a year ago. So something to think about as you are building it out. You may want to keep the vessel simple. So what do we do instead? We put nice labels on there. We put bright pops of color. We build around the vessel itself with our labeling and our branding. So that's one thing I would caution people on, is trying to build a brand around a completely trending or new vessel. The same thing is going to be with waxes. With waxes, there tends to be a lot of waxes coming in and then going away, and then coming in and going away. For instance, they're the olive oil waxes. Several suppliers, and these are people that we love, and we love their other products. But several of the suppliers that we, in fact, use have introduced olive oil wax, and then it ends up not doing so great for them. So they have to pivot, and that makes sense. A business decision on their end. But if you build your brand around a specific, unique, what I call a designer wax, what are you going to do when that wax goes away? We built a $1 million business around soy 464. You can buy this from probably every single supplier. You can, in fact, if you can buy it by the pallet, you can just get it directly from the manufacturer themselves as well. So there's plenty of options. Now, of course, any business can possibly go out. I have no idea how well Golden Branch 464 is doing as a business. I know that almost every supplier carries that brand, so I have confidence in them. But of course, they could possibly go away at some point. But it's less risky in my eyes to do that. So I'm not chasing the latest or the hottest supplier that's coming out onto the scene that has a specific wax. I would also caution you for specific types of oils as well. There's a lot of trending oils that are based on the perfume space that, we see one supplier starts carrying this dupe of a specific perfume that is super popular. Then all of a sudden, the rest of them are all carrying it. And then it ends up not doing very well. A perfect example of this, if anyone has been in the candle making space for the last, let's say, 2 years, there was a candle supplier called 1617. So 1617 was known for some great perfume designer high-end fragrance oils, right? That's what they were known for. All of a sudden, bam, they're gone. They filed bankruptcy, they're out of business. All these different smaller suppliers started duping those oils and started selling them themselves, assuming that they were going to actually do really well off of those oils. But the reality is that some of those oils just weren't good. Unfortunately, they just weren't good. And that's just not my opinion. That's the broad opinion in any of the maker groups that we see, that because they were buying all of these now that they could afford them from some of these other suppliers that were carrying them. For instance, there was a Baccarat Rouge. This is a perfect example. There's a Baccarat Rouge oil that 1617 used to have. When 1617 went away, 3 or 4 of the suppliers that we use and we trust duped those and were selling those oils, but none of them were really good and they didn't take off. And now no one is carrying those oils. So I would be cautious of chasing trends when it comes to your oils. Don't build a foundation for your business on something that is possibly going to go away. We built, again, our Garson Beacon Candle Company off of some scents that were easy to get almost anywhere. Now, we do blend our own oils. Chad does all of our scent creation. So our Circuit Lumen candle, this is a 6-figure candle seller. We have sold, it's our number one selling candle over the past 3.5, almost 4 years. Every year is the number one seller. And this is a combination of, I believe, 3 different oils. Now, if one of those oils was to go away, we should be able to get a very, very similar version of that. because they are going to be, this is going to be those verbatims, the lemons, the citrus, the cream is what we're blending together for this. So we're going to be able to find alternatives. In reality, we're now to the point, thankfully, within our business that we could just get those oils duplicated ourselves. So that's going to be another option for you. If you do love an oil, if you love an oil from one of these suppliers, but now you're a little bit nervous, I've told you, hey, don't buy that oil because it might be trending and it might go away. Keep in mind that as long as you have a couple ounces of it, always, that if that business goes away or those oils are discontinued, there are plenty of options out there now that will duplicate those oils. And in reality, duplicating oils might be something that you want to look into, even if those oils are still in stock, because you can save a lot of money if you get your oils duplicated. We are starting to do that now because of we've been in business for a couple of years now that with consistent fragrances and consistent candles, we know which ones that we are kind of iffy on the future of, but we know the ones that are very solid. For instance, like this is a solid candle for us. So what we'll be doing now is actually having a company duplicate those for us. Now, the minimum is we got to buy 7 pounds worth of that oil. So that is going to cost, but that's going to bring that oil down to at or less than $20 a pound. That's significant savings. When you look at some of the suppliers out there that are selling oils now I see one now for $99 for 16 ounces, like insane prices. It's oil. You can duplicate those and use them for yourself if you would like. Now, there are other suppliers that we will just keep buying from them because their prices are right. Their shipping is right. There's going to be many factors that go into it. And of course, when we are doing, say, a seasonal scent that we don't know if we're going to want to bring it back next year, we have to see how well it does. That's where we would continue to shop with our local suppliers, instead of going and getting those oils duped. But just something to keep in mind, if you do chase something that's trending, make sure that you keep some of the oil so that you can duplicate those oils if you need to in the future. Now, for our new brand, with our new brand without, that's the name of it, those oils are going to be more of those higher end. Think along the line of like a Joe Malone type of scents that they carry, some of the Le Labos. We have been sourcing and then doing some adjustments to some of these oils and these scents that we absolutely love. So because we're doing that, we are going to have all these oils custom created for us. And you can start, as long as you're doing, again, that 7 pound minimum is generally what it's going to be. There's a few different houses that will fragrance houses that will allow duplication, and then they will duplicate for you. So check into that. For us, we have had really good success with AFI. AFI out of Georgia, they can literally duplicate anything for you. They may already, in fact, have some of those oils ready and available on their website now. So you can go and check them out. Again, it's AFI. They're great. They're fantastic to work with. In fact, you can actually order samples off of their website and you just pay shipping, which is fantastic as well. Just keep in mind, there is that minimum order amount that might just be more than what you are wanting to buy when you're first starting out. So for our without brand, we are going to source custom vessels. So we are going to be using a business that is on Alibaba. You can actually work with them directly as well. So keep that in mind. If you do find a supplier on Alibaba and you establish a really good relationship with them, then you can actually work with them offline as well. Now, if you are going to use Alibaba, I would recommend always using a business on there that offers trade assurance. If you're using that website, what trade assurance is essentially you and them come to an agreement on what you're going to buy, what the cost is going to be, what the timeline for them to deliver that product to you is going to be. So you come to all of those terms. And then when you go to pay them, when you pay through trade assurance, you are giving your money to Alibaba to hold. And then Alibaba holds that money until that supplier gives you delivery and that you are satisfied with that delivery. So in case there's an issue, in case they go MIA and they disappear, in case what you receive is not what you ordered, you can get your money back. Okay. We actually had to use this and use a claim for our wick trimmers a couple years ago. We ordered custom wick trimmers and they did not arrive and they would not give us our money back. Thankfully, we used trade assurance and they gave us our money back like the next day. The supplier kept saying it's on its way, it's on its way, it's on its way. It never was. They couldn't give us any proof, right? I'm pretty lenient when we're realizing that this stuff is coming by cargo ship, right? Generally from China, or Southeast Asia, all the way to the U.S. Of course, there's going to be some hiccups in transporting it over sometimes, but I couldn't get any updates at all from them. So after about 2 weeks, I just filed that claim. You want to be cautious or be careful and take a look at what the terms of the trade assurance is on Alibaba, because there is a time frame that you need to fall within. So they have to have missed delivery, but then you have, I think it might just be 30 days. It could possibly be 60 days. So make sure that if you are going to be lenient with a supplier, that you aren't too lenient to where you go outside of your time period to file a claim. So that's what I would caution you on that. Also, be cautious of what the actual costs are going to be. When we order stuff from Alibaba, any of the suppliers that we use over there, you want to make sure what we do is ask for, the quote and the cost of delivery to our door. So some will quote you to delivery to the port. So when it comes from China, it's going to go to like an LA port or a Houston port or a Miami port. But then you would be responsible for getting it from the port. It's going to be an additional fee for that. We make sure that all of our quotes include to the door delivery on that. One thing you can also do, and we did this with our custom boxes. So our custom boxes for our Garden and Beacon brand come from China. And so when they made these for us, we bought, I believe, 2,000 of these to get the price to where we needed it to be, which was a really good deal because we got 2,000 boxes for like $1,200, like 60 cents a box delivered, custom printed, everything. You will not find that in the US, at least. You will not find boxes delivered custom for that price. You just won't. So we got 2,000 of these coming over here, but I needed them right away. We were launching a new brand or a new collection, and I needed those really quick, but I didn't need all 2,000 of those. I only needed a couple hundred. So what we did is we did a split ship. We bought, and paid for 2,000 of them, and they gave us a quote to ship 200 of them by air. And then the rest of them, the other 1,800 or so, came by ship. So the first batch of 200, we got those in like 10 days, which was fantastic. That's exactly what we needed to get started. And then the rest of them all came like 30 days after order. So that's something to keep in mind, that you can ask them to do that for you, and they would be happy to look at that. Most suppliers would. Also keep in mind, there's so many suppliers on Alibaba that you want to just make sure that they have a good review. If they don't have over a 4.8 and say 100 reviews, I'm probably not going to put a lot of my time and energy into them. Even if the product looks great, I'm just going to follow what someone else has done as far as selecting a reliable shipper. So just something kind of there to keep in mind. So with waxes, I would always have go after a wax that is available in multiple places. Again, the Golden Range 464, that's what we built our Garden and Beacon brand around. Now, for our without brand, we are going to go higher. We are going to go a little different. Our niche is different. Our target demographic is going to be different. We want to have a candle that has a lot more hot throw. That is one of the downsides of having 464 wax. It is just a hot throw just isn't that great. Soy wax in general just isn't that great. So we are going to look at doing likely either a coconut soy or a paraffin soy blend. That is what we're looking at. But all the ones that we are testing right now, we're testing like IGI, Titan. They're all big suppliers or manufacturers that we can get from multiple suppliers. Again, because if a wax is carried by multiple suppliers, then if a supplier ends up going out of business or they are just out of stock, I can hopefully get it from another location. Now, since this is a brand new brand that we're launching, we don't know if it's going to do well. Well, that's the honest truth, is we don't know how great or successful it might be. Now, we are going ahead and getting 2,000 of these custom vessels made. What it's going to look like, it's going to be kind of similar to this as far as size goes. It's going to be a 10-ounce matte black, and it's going to have the branding screen printed on there for us. So it's going to be an elevated look. We are actually getting tube boxes made for those. We are also going to be doing perfumes as well. You can negotiate with a lot of suppliers on Alibaba if you're buying multiple things from them. So who we're using is creating our vessels for us, and they also do perfume bottles. So I don't know if we're going to sell 2,000 candles. I would imagine we will over time. I don't know how quick that's going to be, but if I'm unsure about selling 2,000 candles, I'm really unsure about selling 2,000 perfumes because we haven't even brought these to market yet because we're still in the scent creation phase and having that all designed, right? But so what I'm able to do is negotiate with them and say, hey, I can hit the minimum for the vessels, but you gotta let me only buy 1,000 of the perfume bottles because I can't go all in with those as well because it might just not work. So, and they worked with us on it. They were completely fine. So we are getting our vessels, we are getting our perfume bottles, and then also the circular tube boxes for our candles, and then also some custom boxes for our perfume bottles. So it's all coming from the same supplier that we have sourced. So that's going to make it really easy. So now that we know who and where we're going to get our supplies from our wax, our oils, our wicks, our custom vessels, anything that you're going to have for this new brand, I would map it all out and see what suppliers carry the majority of what you want, because then you're going to save a lot of money on shipping, right? So if you decide Candle Science, you decide Hive and Honey, you decide whatever brand you decide to buy your supplies from, I like to go with the ones that might have more things and try what they have. Generally, when it comes to like wicks, generally wherever you're going to buy your wax, they're going to have a suitable wick that's going to fit that. One thing to keep in mind also when it comes to wicks is that two different suppliers may sell a specific wick, but they are made different or they are coated differently. Because a lot of times our wicks are coated with either a soy-based coating on there or a paraffin-based. And so if you are saying, just for instance, as an example out there, you are using, let's say, CD wicks. A CD wick supplier that carries, them is not necessarily going to be the exact same CD wick that another one is going to carry. Or if you're going to like in a pinch buy some on Amazon, they may not be the same as what you're carrying. So having a wick and always keeping plenty of supply of that so you don't have to go to another supplier is going to be pretty crucial because they will burn differently depending on where you get them because of how they're coated. Also, if you are a brand that is really leaning into, say, like eco-friendly sustainability, and you are on the, team soy, anti-paraffin bandwagon, which, that's not what this video is about. Whatever side you're on with that, you may actually end up using wicks that are paraffin coated if you are buying them from a different supplier than the ones that you generally buy them from. Little things like that, just keep in mind. But so when you have a list of all the stuff you're going to need to build out this new business with, I look at what supplier you can get most of your stuff from. Look and see who's been reliable. There's a lot of chatter when suppliers aren't doing what they should, when they aren't being transparent, when their customer service has gone really down. Take a look around. You can certainly hop into our Facebook group. It's completely free. It's Candle Business Pro on Facebook. Hop in there and ask who the reliable suppliers are today. In fact, in the show notes below, we have a supply list, and it is the suppliers that we're using to operate our stores with. Now, we aren't going to necessarily be using all of those suppliers for our new brand, the Without brand. Again, we're going to have the oils created, and then we're going to have the vessels coming from overseas. But we are going to have our wax, from here. And so keep an eye on our free checklist, and we're continuously updating it with the suppliers that we are using right now. And again, that's completely free, and you can grab that in the show notes below. So now you got all the suppliers picked out. Get the samples. Don't go all in. Make sure you test and you test. You've got to do complete testing, even if you have made 100,000 of this candle and you now are going to test a different fragrance combination, but you're going to use the same vessel. Don't assume you're going to use the same wick because generally there's oftentimes it's not going to be. So in our classic line of candles, we have 10. We have 10 different scents. And amongst those 10 scents, there's 4 different sizes of wicks because of the fragrance load or because of how hot or cool an oil burns. So something to keep in mind when you're starting a brand, you have to test every single combination. So keep it simple. Test one factor at a time. When we go through our testing, we want to make sure that the hot throw is going to be suitable for what we want. If it's not, we're going to make the adjustments that we would to adjust the hot throw. Then you also want to make sure that the temperatures, the burning ratio is all going to be in line with what your testing should be. So make sure that you are testing extremely in depth and document that as you are building out your new brand as well. Your packaging is going to be a big part of your brand. And it doesn't just mean like the box that your candles come in. In fact, a lot of times you don't have to have a box. We have a box for our brand for one line of candles that we do. It's called our duos line. They're a smaller matte black vessel, so having the black box, it kind of just fits, and those do really well. But we don't have vessel boxes for the rest of our candles, except for a couple like high end. We'll do like limited edition runs for one of our stores that the average order value is a little higher there. The tourist that comes to that store spends a little bit more. So we've created some higher line candles for them, and they come in those boxes that I usually have behind me on my shelf in my videos. And those aren't custom. We are in, and what I would recommend you doing is if you want to have a box, you can start with a plain box and put your logo on it as a sticker. Don't go and spend a lot of money on boxes if you haven't tested your brand out in general to see if your candles are going to sell. You want to do a lot of testing at the least cost possible. And one of those big costs in building out a brand is going to be the packaging. But there are other areas where you can do really nice packaging to add to the experience that doesn't cost a lot of money. For us, we still use a stamp that we stamp every single cardboard box that we ship out to our customers. So we have not gone and got the fancy like tape to seal up your box with that has your branding on it. We are still using a stamp that probably cost us $25, and we've probably gone through 10 or 20 ink pads with that, right? So we've spent well less than $100 on our branding when it comes to our shipping boxes. That's a way to keep our costs low. Another thing that we can do is with that stamp, we can actually stamp our tissue paper with a smaller stamp. We can stamp our tissue paper because getting custom tissue paper is really expensive. Like extremely, like it shouldn't be nearly as expensive as it is. Like over 50 cents a sheet, which is absurd. We get 900 sheets of tissue paper on Amazon for $30. 900 of those, so it's like 3 cents a sheet or something, right? And we can stamp our logo on there. Or what we'll do is when we wrap our candles in tissue, we then put a little logo sticker on there. When you buy something like a logo sticker, you can buy those by the thousands. You can put them whenever you wrap up your candles in tissue. You can put them in all different places. You can actually just cut off one of the stickers off of the roll and just give that as just a little bonus gift and see if people will stick it on their computer or something, right? A very inexpensive way of adding to your unboxing experience. A couple other things that we're going to want to do as far as packaging is we're going to want to order candle care cards. Candle care cards, we get those from Vistaprint. Vistaprint does our candle care cards. We have them printed on one side with the candle care instructions, and on the back of them, we keep them blank so that we can write a custom note on there. So we like to have a note that goes with our orders that go out that just says thank you for buying from us. So it's a nice gesture, but we're not doing it separate from our candle care cards because it's just a way of saving paper and cutting down on cost as well. So for some other ways of doing your packaging, for us, we do have a lid on our candles now, but the reason why we do a lid now is because we are doing a pretty decent amount of wholesale. So we are at like 145 stores now that we are wholesaling our candles in. And it was a stability thing that I was really cautious about when we started. And I thought that having a lid on here would make the structure of this candle firmer. And so that we wouldn't have any breakage. And we haven't had any breakage. So it's been a great thing. However, since we didn't test it, like we never had the problem, I don't know if we needed to do that. Dust covers would be generally just fine for your candles. In fact, when we were adding these lids to our main lines of candles, I sent a poll out to our customers, and I kind of put my foot in my mouth in a way because I sent a poll out to our customers asking them, hey, would you prefer if we put lids on our candles? And overwhelmingly, the response was no lid. It's a waste. Stay sustainable. Don't put a lid on there. Nobody wanted a lid on there. but we had kind of already made up our mind. We were hoping that they were going to be excited about the lid, and so for some reason, maybe it would add value to what they were buying, and it definitely didn't. So we have the lids, and some of those customers that were like, "No, I don't want a lid. No, I don't want a lid." When they come to our stores and buy candles from us, they will actually leave the lid with us, which is fantastic. And so we'll keep the lid and put on the next one that we make. So don't think that you need to get lids, because lids are going to be another dollar upcharge on building out your packaging that you really don't need. Dust covers are just fine. That's what we started with. That's what we ran with for 2 years, and never had a problem. And never had a situation where someone like wanted or requested a lid. So that won't be an issue for you as well. So for us, we are going to be doing some other kind of merchandise as well. We're going to be having, for our Without brand, we are going to be doing some shirts, likely some hats, some other lifestyle merchandise, some tote bags, I believe we're going to be doing, and different things. Now, of course, you don't have to do any or all of this stuff. It's just a way for us to get our brand out there more by offering these other things that people might want to buy. We'll see what direction it goes. Doing things like shirts, I would not recommend doing. I would not recommend doing if you have not done it before. Wait until your business gets some traction. I come from a space where we did t-shirts. I used to work for a large podcast network, and we had a very large merchandise store. And believe me when I tell you, it is miserable stocking shirts, because you're going to have like up to 7 different sizes of each of those SKUs. So if you have, let's say, 3 different colors of a shirt, and you're going to have 7 different sizes of that shirt, that's 21 different items, different SKUs that you have to carry. Plus, then you got to carry of each of those. So if you're going to have 5 or 10 in stock, whatever it might be, it's a lot to manage. It's very overwhelming, and it's a lot of money into it. So there's a lot of money that goes into that. So I wouldn't start with that. When you see us building out this new brand, I wouldn't say, "Oh, they're doing it, so maybe I need to as well." I would just stick to the candles. What else you could add would be some room sprays. Room sprays are a very inexpensive add-on. We do room sprays for our classic line of candles, our tin candles that we carry all the time. We do room sprays for those. Those room sprays cost us less than $2.50 each. They are in really nice matte black glass bottles. They're 4-ounce sizes, and we sell those. We make them for $2.50. We sell those for $16. So they're a fantastic margins on there. We also use them to do like a lot of giveaways and things like that, where we'll run a promotion. Hey, buy 2 candles, get a free room spray. Because of the perceived value that they're saving $16 on something, it makes people go after those type of deals and specials pretty often. So next week, we will get into product finalization and our digital setup. So we will hopefully have all of the final scents that I can kind of share some of the details of. By next week, we will have those all selected from the lots and lots that we started with. We are down to, I think, 5 to 7, and we want to launch our business with 5. Hopefully we'll have those figured out next week. Now, I may not share the exact recipes for all of those, but I will definitely give you a lot of detail on those. We should also have our final build outs for our custom supplies, and I should have some of these samples on the way from the supplier on those as well. We should also have a list of some of the other things that we're going to put together as far as shirts or hats, because we will be in week 5, and that means we are only 7 or 8 weeks out from hopefully launching this brand with as few hiccups as possible. We're also going to start getting into building out a Shopify store for this brand. There's a lot of steps that goes into that to making sure that we aren't just rushing it at the end. So we'll talk a little bit about that next week. But hopefully this has been helpful for you. If you have questions, put those in the comments below. Follow us on Instagram. Send us a message over there. You can slide into the DMs. Is that what they call it? Send us messages anytime. Again, we have that free Facebook group as well. And then, as I mentioned earlier, you can download that supply list that we have in the notes below. And again, a big shout out to Tuato for sponsoring this series for us. They have helped us tremendously, not only with their melters, but they also have thermal label printers. Thermal label printers is one of those things that you don't think about until it stops working. In fact, ours did stop working a bit ago, and it was perfect timing because Tuato had just launched their version, and we've been using it ever since. It's fantastic. So again, thank you so much for tuning in this week. Have a great rest of your week.